Oh my gosh. Can you hear me now? That is just terrible. I think we should start over. Can you hear me now? All right. So I think we're going to, yeah, no, we'll keep it. We'll keep it. Sorry, guys. I had a sound issue. I knew I was going to do that to myself. Um, but thanks for watching. Um, so my biggest question going into this week, obviously, if you watched me last week after I did the breakdown, well, let me just recap what I was saying. While there was no music or anything, I forgot to turn my mic on. I usually do a mic check. Sorry. I'm just so excited about this episode. I forgot to do my mic check. Um, Much happier tonight after this episode. This episode went really easy on us. There was no action at all. And there were no zombies, no cordyceps, no clickers, no mushroom daddies, nothing, which was disappointing. So, in my rating, I had to bring it down a little bit because that sucked. You know, we need some action, but as far as a solid episode of storytelling and the visuals were great, I do have some criticisms of it, and we'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about why I have criticisms and why I'm so hard on the show. I think if I can explain to you what my style is, it's going to help a lot of you. I did get comments from the last 2 weeks, and a lot of people were just hating me. They were hating me. So I don't think they understood what my point is. And the film, I'm doing a film study essentially, and I don't think people understand quite how that goes. So I'm going to really critique a lot of the finer points of the script. And but I'm going to do my homework. I'm an actor. I do study film. I study acting. I'm studying screenwriting. So this is learning for me. So I'm bringing you along for the ride. Please follow me on X, IG, Snap, uh, Rumble. Subscribe on Rumble, and I'd appreciate it. So one of the biggest questions I had, we're going to get a drink going here. Thanks for watching. One of the biggest questions that I had, I have a new mixer tonight. This is not a commercial. A new mixer. Oh, I forgot my jiggler. You know what? Let's just freestyle it, baby. Let's just go all out. So one of my concerns. Ooh, this smells amazing. It says it's like a raspberry. Let's see here. Okay, that should be enough. All right, a little more of this. One of my concerns was after killing off Joel, was where is the star power going to come from? He's the only star of the show. Now I know you might be thinking Bella Ramsey is the star of the show. She's not. Well, she is now. Okay, she is now because clearly when you start the show, the credits, she's the first person on the credits. She is not now the star, and then the character or the gentleman who plays Tommy, the character Tommy Gabriel Luna, he is number two on the credits when the show opens up. So there's something to be said about them being like the stars now. Mm, that's good. The character who plays Dina, she's also the she's number three in the credits, so she's considered, I guess, a star. But they're all relatively unknowns. Now, Bella Ramsey's been known for a while, and Gabriel Luna's been doing some things. But like as far as like being on a caliber of show like this, where like millions of people stream it, I don't know, probably what 20 million streams an episode. It's crazy. It could even be more. Um, you really need a character of some serious star power to launch it. And that was my biggest question after killing off Pedro Pascal. The only reason I watched the show was because of Pedro. That's the only reason I started watching it last year. Now, I like Bella from Game of Thrones. Obviously, who could forget? You know, she had a couple of episodes and she had a death that was like really super gangster. But she had not had a chance to really develop her acting chops like she had last year. And she did some really incredible acting last year. So I believe in her. But her acting was predicated off of having Pedro Pascal's experience in the mix. And in her scenes that like when the scenes that they weren't together in, he's still doing something in the show. So they're going back and forth, right? Like I think the eighth episode of the penultimate episode, which is like one of my favorite episodes of TV of all time, where she, my phone's blown up. Sorry guys. where Ellie had to survive on her own against like the cannibal preacher guy. That was a great episode uh, of acting for her. But she had Pedro in there, right? And so him on one side and her on the other, and then with the editing and the juxtaposition of that is was a powerful combination, and it was great. So you get into you didn't have that in the last episode at all. You had it a little bit, but it was mainly focused around what was going to happen to Joel, and they did him in. And so now my concern was who's going to be, where's the star power going to come from, right? Who's going to take it to that next level? And so I took some pretty decent notes on this one this time around, and I because there was a lot of visuals. It was a slower episode. There wasn't much going on. There was some development of, I think, the plot, giving you some, like, I guess, key foreshadowing, I suppose. But let me just give you my rating. Giving it a 3.5 stars. That's a whole star down from last week. But we'll get into the recap in a second. But I wanted to get into some conversation on. I can't believe I have my sound off. Sorry, guys. I want to get into some conversation on last week a little bit and kind of flush out some of the things that I found were really critiquable. I thought it was a fantastic episode. I gave it 4.5 stars. And one of the reasons why I didn't give it a full 5 stars was because of the monologue and how the Joel death scene, right when it was getting intense, how they kind of fumbled the ball on it. But I researched it a little bit, and there was a reason for it, and I figured it out. I researched a few articles, and the director did talk about that scene, and they made changes to it. So we'll get into that in a second, and it made sense because I saw the changes, and I really believe that was not necessary. I think they did some overkill in trying to really make Abby's character more, I guess, intense or vicious than they needed to, because what she was doing was terrible enough. But we'll get into that. Okay, so I gave it 3.5 stars because they just passed over Joel's death like way too easy for me, and they did a big time jump. We'll talk about that. They had a bi-curious scene, okay, and it did kill the flow. Now I know what you're thinking. We're not on the same page. I'll tell you why I thought it killed the flow, and you'll be surprised. So stay tuned for that. We'll get into it. I thought they fumbled that scene. Well, I'll give you some of my tips on how I would have done that better. There were no fucking zombies, man. No cordyceps clicker dudes. No mushroom daddies. What the hell? That made no sense. I don't think there was ever an episode of Walking Dead where there wasn't some kind of zombie, even in the background, even if it was focused on just the people, which a lot of Walking Dead did focus on the people battling each other. There's always a freaking zombie. No zombies in this one. Big fail. Big fail. I don't understand that. And I'll tell you why I think some of these failures are happening. But it was no action at all. So you got to have action. This is an action. This is a episodic television show where it's predicated on action and adventure. It's apocalyptic. You need to have action, some kind of action every episode. Like if I'm running the show and I'm telling the writers, there's no way in hell we're not having some action. We need action every episode. Now, the problem with this, and we'll get into it, is the writers and the showrunners are the creators of the video game. Bad mistake. They're hanging in there, but you really need TV writers. You need people that know this business to translate it. Game of Thrones, that's why Game of Thrones will be one of the greatest shows in history, because the guy who wrote it was separated from it. They followed his material. He gave them obviously tips and was a creator with them, but it is clearly well known that they went off on their own, and then when they didn't have book material, they made it up and they killed it. Game of Thrones, one of the greatest shows ever, maybe top 3. The Sopranos, no one will ever beat that. House of Cards, maybe 2 or 3. I mean, there's some shows in the past that are in that list. But so we'll get to that. Okay, so but it was a solid episode. There were some really amazing visuals. I really loved the photography. In the behind the scenes, I did watch a little bit of that. I don't watch all of it because sometimes it's just better to not watch all that. They did that little 10 minutes behind the scenes. I watched part of it. They put a lot of work into building the visuals, which really showed. So 3.5 stars. There's my reasons why. Um, so let's get into let's recap a little bit of last week with my. Now we'll get into the episode, but I think it's important to recap a little bit on the Joel scene that was devastating, the death scene. One reason I want to recap it is because they really didn't get into it. They didn't have any conversations with people talking about like what they went through. They didn't do a download. They didn't show people frustrated by what happened to Joel. Like that was super frustrating. Sorry, my nose is itchy, guys. I know, live streaming. Oh, I need to set up my Facebook viewers. So again, guys, thanks for watching. We're live on X. We're live on Rumble. Let's see here. We're live on Facebook. Thanks for watching. Really appreciate it. I gotta get I'm the only producer on this, guy, so I gotta get my Facebook people. Cool. So yeah, so I did take a look. Sorry, I hate when I gotta do this. Okay, there it is. Okay, cool. So I did take a look at I actually watched I watched my episode. Sorry, I'm working on that. I hate it when I gotta do that. So I watched the episode, mine, and I watched the other episode again, except the Joel. I had to stop at I couldn't rewatch the Joel death stuff. It's just too much for me. I just couldn't. But I watched up to that point, and I listened to my criticisms, and I thought they were super valid. One of my criticisms was that the Abby character, was too vicious too fast, and they really didn't establish her bloodlust. They just put her in it, and then she started acting like Negan, started to mock him, started to put Joel, put him through 20 questions. Didn't make sense to me. Looking back, I thought it would have been better for her to be mysteriously vicious and just start killing him, right? And not give him a reason, like indicate to him, but just go and develop that viciousness as the character is like revealing. Like less dialogue would have been better. And that's a key in writing. Now the original script, now I Googled it. You can Google this. I Googled it, and the original script did not have that monologue in it, or as much monologuing as she had done in the episode. It wasn't in the original script. The director, there's an article. I was going to have it pulled up, but I'm sorry I didn't have a chance. But the director said in this article, he felt like there wasn't enough dialogue, so he wrote the monologue and they jammed it in, which was a mistake. It was a fail. So the writers approved it, of course, and they had to all sign off on it. But this director, who directed a really great episode, in fact, I think the guy had done some Game of Thrones stuff. He had done some directors they specialize in certain like genres, right? If you're going to take a show, we'll just fill you in on this. If you're going to take a show and do an action episode, more of a comedy driven episode than a drama episode, in some cases you'll mix it up and have different directors because they have different like specializations, right? They know certain tricks, or they have certain just ways they make that flow. They storyboard it. They're the visionary. So they gave this director he had gravitas. They gave him an opportunity to put a monologue in. Now, they wrote it in late. So one of the things that I said in my podcast was I thought it seemed like when Abby, the character, is it Caitlin? I don't have the characters up here right now, but when Caitlin, I believe it's Caitlin, the actress, when she delivered the monologue, it just seemed to me like she was trying to like get the lines out. Like it didn't have like that. Let me just give you the reason. I'm gonna kill you. You're gonna die. and you're just gonna die. I don't need to give you a reason. I have power. That's what I expected. But instead it was, this is why I'm killing you, and this is why I'm doing this. And it's no knock on her. Sometimes in fact, a lot of times they'll jam dialogue into a scene at the last minute. And you got to fucking remember it. So I think that's what they did with her. And she did the best she could. And I just think that the director messed with the material too much. So that made more sense to me. And I was correct in my assessment that just didn't quite flow. Now, later on in my episode, in my recap, I'm like, hey, it was well directed, which it was. So the overall show I thought was done so well, but I just think that monologue lost me. Sorry, guys. That monologue lost me, like I said, and I just wasn't impressed with it. Plus, they just didn't develop. See, it would have been better for me to have her more mysterious and then just kill him rather than her like, okay, we're going to do this and let's make some coffee and then have the whole like the junior Fireflies kind of arguing. Like she just like the levels of where she was at with the script was all over the place for her. And then her like rolling down the mountain and being in jeopardy. I just didn't see that as like a vicious, mean character. Like she just seemed like a damsel in distress, right? Which was odd. So I'm not sure if that's how they directed it or if that's how she interpreted it or if that's just the way it went because Joel had to be heroic in that moment. Just seemed like there was a lot going on. Now, look, I'm being very critical of it. And let's get into why I'm being critical of it. I think this will help you. So there you go. There's my recap on last week, but I'm not taking anything away from how devastating it was. That's why going into this episode, I was a little disappointed that they didn't milk that a bit because that would have been cool to milk that, right? Milk that that sadness, right? They tried, but I just don't think they succeeded like I wanted them to. But again, great episode, a solid episode. If you're like a fan of the story, and or the video game. Now the guys at the end of the sorry, my nose is so itchy. I hate this. It's like my nose gets itchy always when I gotta go live. It's a thing. The guys that were running the showrunners and the writers, they said in the behind the scenes after the episode that in the video game they didn't have time to really mourn Joel, so they wanted to mourn him in this episode. So okay, we could take an episode and do it. It's TV. Well, they didn't really mourn him. They didn't. Like they had a few emotional scenes, but they didn't really give you what you wanted from the mourning. And I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so I think that covers my recap. Oh, here's another criticism. Okay, well, I'll just let me dig into Abby a little bit because we didn't see her this week. So I see what they're doing with that, where they're going to do kind of a Walking Dead where major characters show up and then you don't see them for an episode or two. My main criticism last week was the Abby portrayal in general. Her being vicious in the monologue didn't flow well. I just discussed the monologue, but her character, they put the dream sequence in last week, trying to show that she has trauma. We get that, but it just didn't quite make sense that after 5 years, she was kind of the same person, but was still bloodthirsty, and they just didn't develop it enough for me. So that criticism, it's okay. It's come and gone. Now I'm hoping by now, so now you have another time jump of 3 months. I'm hoping by now we see Abby as a cold-hearted like person. That's where this person's at. The murder she committed should not make it easier on her. She should be, I mean, it was a really vicious murder. You just don't do that. You work up to that, right? So I'm assuming her backstory, she's done it before. We're gonna key into that. And that maybe in the last 3 months, Joel wasn't the last kill. And let's talk about the Abby character versus another famous character that came in and just did in some heroes and really like just was a traumatic intro. Negan. So Negan, this whole thing reminds me of Negan. Now, there's a lot of Walking Dead inspiration and Game of Thrones inspiration in this show. Clearly, Walking Dead is the godfather of zombie shows. You just can't get past that. So you're going to see a lot of inspiration in it. In fact, tonight, there was a couple of shots where it was just like the whole. It looked like Rick on the horse from season one. They did it actually later on in the series, but it showed the picture of the horse driving into like Atlanta, which was like apocalyptic. Right, he's on the freeway. There's all these broken cars. The famous Walking Dead poster. Well, they did the same thing, but with Seattle, and it was the same thing with the ladies on a horse. We'll get to that. So a lot of inspiration. So we can't, to do it justice, we can't go, okay, Negan and Abby are not related, because they are. But there is a main difference. And I mentioned Negan and Abby the comparison last week, and I wanted to flesh it out a little bit more this week. I didn't really go as far as I should have gone. The biggest difference, I think, between this character and Negan, and again, I don't know the story, I don't know the video game. We'll get into that too. You know my rule. Okay, it doesn't matter. This is a different universe. This is a different art form. Whatever the source material is, this is a TV show. It's different. So it doesn't have to follow the same rules. It doesn't live in the same universe. So if I complain that the storyline is a storyline that doesn't work, and it's the video game storyline, well, fuck you, because it doesn't work, and that's the way it worked. That's TV. It's a different genre. It doesn't matter to me. So I'll never have that argument with anyone. They'll never win with me. It is what it is. So just, that's what you need to know with me. Okay. So the difference between Abby and Negan, if you'll recall, Rick and his team were in this real like vicious mode of like, okay, kill or be killed, survival of the fittest. They attacked Negan's group when they were sleeping in like some sort of a building with a satellite. I'm a little fuzzy on it, but they killed some people when they didn't have to. They killed them, I think, and it was kind of cowardly. They did a sneak attack, but they were doing it to show dominance. Okay. And they were trying to scare they had heard that the Negan crew was mean and nasty. And Rick is like, well, our crew's mean and nasty. So, and I think they were doing a favor for somebody connected to Alexandria. It's coming back to me. But they were doing somebody a favor, and they didn't, it was like the mayor of that small town, long story. But my point is, when Negan caught up with them, he executed two of Rick's crew because he was getting payback, but it was not vengeance. It was business. He was like, hey, this could have gone easier on you. You didn't need to kill my people, but you did. You killed them, and it was cowardly, and that's not fair. So I'm going to teach you a lesson. It's only business. I'm down two guys. You're going to be down two guys. Now, he didn't so that was his point. Negan had a point, and I'll reiterate this again. Negan's point was, in this world, if you can't survive me, if I catch you and put you on your knees, you're not fit to live in this world. This is a new world, and all weaklings must go, because this world is so vicious. If we're not the tip-top meanest people, the human race is going to be wiped out. That was Negan's thing. Negan looked at it as, this is the only way to go. You must be ice cold killers. Everyone has to be that person. So he said, I'm going to teach you what that's like. And you're not a fit crew, but you need to join my crew, and I'll make you strong people. That was Negan. So he brutally murders two of Rick's people, but he did it indiscriminately. So it wasn't a vengeance killing, and it wasn't, he was like thinking about it for 5 years and hunting them down. It was business. And Rick brought it on themselves. Rick did not have to attack Negan's people, but he did. So it's a very different situation. Negan found redemption. If you continue to watch the show, there's a moment where Rick could kill him with his own bat, like, spoiler, but tables are turned. If you haven't watched it, stop and go watch it. Don't listen to this. I'll give you a second. Okay, come back. But Rick had a chance and gave Negan mercy, because ultimately Rick understood, well, now because of what Negan did to us, we are those people. Like, so Negan's point was made through that season where Rick and them had to, overcome the being, under Negan's thumb. So Abby, first of all, Negan's a more, obviously an older person, and he's coming from, again, it's business. This Abby character is just as vicious as Negan, but hers is vengeance. She's got no point to it. She's not trying to do it for any reason other than I have a bloodlust. I'm a bad seed. So I do not see. So, and then she tortured Joel, who is a hero character. I do not see that becoming any kind. I don't see any redemption line with this character. So I think this character was created just to be the evilest, scariest foil that you could give to Ellie. And I think that there's just no point to that character other than that. Again, this is a video game adaptation, so I will appreciate the limitations of that, which is some characters in a video game are just created just to be one dimensional and to be like evil or be like, you know, altruistic or to give the hero something or to always be there when the hero needs to buy something, right? It's a video game concept. So I really wanted to break down the difference between Abby and Negan because I think that's important. Going back to Negan, he killed those guys really brutally, but he didn't torture them. Now, he smashed their heads in over and over. I mean, it's historic. Sorry, spoiler if you haven't watched The Walking Dead. And it was brutal, but it wasn't a torture like she did with like Abby did with Joel. Okay, so there you go. That's the difference. Okay, so I'm gonna read some comments from last week. This will be fun. I got comments, and what it was interesting to me because when let me go to the comments on I got a lot of comments on TikTok. Let me see here. So when what was interesting to me is I don't think a lot of people understood from the comments. I don't think they understood what I'm doing with my critique. So let me read some of the comments and then I'll explain to you. And I am taking a half hour to get into this. You can jump to my review of the show in a few moments. I'm going to try to wrap this up in 5 minutes. But here's some comments from my season one. My episode one commentary. This person says, I'm not going to read because on TikTok people are just douchebags. I'm not going to read that. Okay. Some Mahmoud said, I appreciate the MMA training. I was talking about Ellie's MMA training is just ridiculous because I was like, how are we going to believe Ellie is going to be like John Wick? Okay. So apparently, again, you guys are really hung up on the game. You're hung up on the fact that Ellie is going to be some sort of badass, unstoppable killer like Joel was, and they need to create that. I don't need her doing MMA to believe that she could become and develop into an assassin because Joel was an assassin essentially, and it would make sense that she could pick things up from him in 3 months, 5 years. She could be there without you having to put that ridiculous MMA scene in. Let me see. Here's some other hateful stuff, but I'm getting past that. Okay, somebody says, okay, so that is, I'm again, some of these I haven't read completely. He says, I think you, okay, so the other MMA part, I think you missed the part where she admitted he pulled punches. She talks shit because he pulled punches, just like everyone not treating her like an adult. This one is Trent and not being treated like a child. You guys are missing my point. Let's see here. And then somebody said, just play the games and then give me your opinion. Okay. Okay. And then this person, Nemo, you did not pay attention. Okay. So here's the thing. That's enough comments, I guess, at this point. So here's the thing. Let me see here. I have a graphic here that'll help. I have too many graphics here. Here we go. Okay, here it is. Sorry about that. Okay, here it is. So, whoop, on how do I, oh, that's a typo. So here is, okay, here we go. Okay, so let me help you. How to watch my reviews and understand them. This is a film study, and if you're a teenager, I'll just put that out there, or a young adult that is worshiping this video game, these reviews are not for you. Okay. If you're a hateful person that wants to make hateful comments, that's fine. But these reviews are not for you. Um, this is for grown people. Honestly, these are reviews for grown-ups. When I post things on TikTok, yeah, there's a lot of kids on TikTok. There's a lot of teenagers on TikTok, but there are a lot of adults that have teenage minds on TikTok. And there are a lot of adults that are watching these video games, or they play these video games, and they are expecting that people that aren't invested in the video game to just automatically accept the fact that I should just understand and accept it's a video game. And if it's a shitty TV show, it's fine because we're just dummies that will just watch anything. Well, maybe you are, but I'm not. So you need to understand, if you're watching my reviews, this is a film study. I'm an actor. So I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to break down the script. I'm going to break down the acting moments. I'm going to get really into the nitty gritty of what they were thinking, how certain things are done on a set, how things are edited. And again, this is not for you if you're a child, you have a childlike mind. So if you're a teenager and you're really invested in the video game, don't put a hateful comment. That just shows how low your IQ is. Just move past it. Move past it. Because there are mature adults. There are mature adults that like television. And television is a mature art form. And there's people that spend a lot of money and time watching television, investing in it, and building these things. So I'm going to critique it my way because that's how I enjoy it. And a lot of people do too. So that being said, if you're watching this clip on TikTok, I don't care what your comments are. And, it is childish to attack people because you disagree when they say something is stupid in a video game or a television show. That's our right to say that. So, again, my nose is itchy. So if you want to watch my reviews, just understand I'm going to be critical, but I'm going to be fair. And I love great TV. This is why I'm doing it. I'm rooting for them to write a really great show, to film a really great show. But I'm going to be honest. Like, for example, the Ellie controversy. I'll say this. There are a lot of hateful people out there. I guess there's memes that have gone around with Bella Ramsey's face versus the face of the video game character. And that there are hateful people saying that she's not attractive enough to play the video game. You see, it's idiotic. If you're a person that is saying that she can't be a character in a television show because she doesn't look like a fantasy video game emoji, that's just dumb. And yes, I'm older and I'm not gonna, that make me a boomer, but it's just rude. I mean, she's a really, really great actress. Look what she's doing. There's not many people that could do this and be on this television show. She's fantastic. So that being said, if you're a teenager, or if you just are a hateful person that is just so defensive of this TV show that you can't listen to criticism without spewing hatred on someone's comments, then you should just go do something else. Okay. So I'm not taking it personal. I have a sports TikTok with thousands of followers. And I also have a TikTok for movies and TV. I get much more hate on the sports TikTok, but at least it's mature people and mature hate. It's not the nasty viciousness that I get from TikTokers. It's staggering. And a lot of you are younger. There's a lot of younger people on TikTok. I can tell by the comments, or you'll say something about my age, and what you write is super disturbing. And I just feel for you. I really do. I feel for all of you that are so hateful that you want to hate Bella Ramsey because she's not attractive enough for you. You want to hate me because I'm older and I want to watch a TV show and enjoy it that was built off of a video game. I feel bad for you because you worship a video game. You need to get outside. You need to get out. So I'm not trying to be that guy, but I thought I would address the negativity because I got a lot of, and I'm not, that was just episode 1. I got thousands of views on my TikToks. I didn't even get to the episode 2, comments. So just understand my reviews are not for children. The truth is, if you're a teenager, I'm cursing on it. You shouldn't be watching this. Like, you shouldn't be on TikTok watching anything that adults are doing. You're too young unless you're 18. That's the truth. So don't get upset with me if I am a mature person watching a television show and you're a teenager and you're mad at me because I don't think like you. Well, the world, here's the newsflash, teenagers. The world does not think like you. They're not all playing video games. You can play your video games because we're paying for everything. So I just want to be real. You guys can talk shit to me. I'm going to talk shit to you until you grow up. Grow up. And if you're going to comment on my stuff, okay, understand it's not going to matter to me if you don't have a mature opinion and really listen to what I'm saying. Yeah, the MMA thing was completely stupid. There's no way around it. Everybody thought it was stupid. You read all sorts of reviews. Everybody thought it was stupid. So I was just pointing out what was stupid. Okay, so there you go. All right, so please follow and sub, guys. Really appreciate it. That being said, man, my nose, gosh, I'm sorry. I know that's rude. I just don't know what's going on with my nose right now. Okay, so we'll do a little more shot. So thanks for watching, guys. I don't know. Do you get any comments? Any comments yet? Not yet. Okay. So thanks for watching. You guys are awesome. I'll get off my soapbox. Okay, so a little bit more. Cool. All right, like this, 2 shots. Okay, good enough. So please follow and sub, follow and X, sub. So now let's get to it. Also, keep in mind, there are also, what's interesting is there's sexual content in this show. There are sexual themes. There are things that are probably too old for some of these teenagers. There's a lot of insane violence. Like the fact that any teenagers would watch what happened to Joel, that blows my mind. Like, this is a mature television show, guys. It says TV mature. So I'm not trying to preach to you, but I'm just saying, if you're listening to adults talk about an adult show and you're disappointed, realize it's not made for you. I know that's a shock, but this television show is not made for teenagers. It's made for adults. We buy it. We buy the subscriptions. We pay for it. You're watching it on your mommy and daddy's dime. We're paying for this. We make the money. We're adults. We pay for HBO Max. If adults weren't paying for it, it would not be in existence. So teenagers, chill out on this video game show. I'm going to still continue to tell you what I think. And I don't care. Comment all you want. It's nasty, but you're just ruining the experience for others by being toxic. Okay. Especially the stuff against Bella Ramsey is just dumb. Okay. So now let's talk about Bella Ramsey before we get into the episode. So I was concerned, can Bella Ramsey's acting solely carry the show? Could it at this point without Pedro? Now, I said earlier, she's a fantastic actress. She is. You would not be on this show, cast on this show, unless 1, you were popular. She was popular from Game of Thrones. 2, if you didn't have the acting chops. And 3, if you couldn't get the auditions. This was an incredible gig that there were probably 1,000 actresses. They audition a lot of people. Even, I'll just say this, Bella Ramsey, before she took the show, she's not at a level where here's the script, you're in. No, you just don't know. This is the longest series she's ever been on. She's killing it. She did a great job. She really had some fantastic acting last season, but a lot of it was balanced off of Pedro or balanced off of other actors. My question was, can she carry this level of pressure. Um, and we'll get into that. I saw where they're gonna go with that because they're putting a lot on her. Now she knew it was coming. She's well trained. She's game for it, right? She's energetic. Um, every one of her scenes to me, when I watch her, I feel like she's going all out. I do. I feel like she is finding herself and giving us the level she can give us at where she's at. And one thing I haven't mentioned that I really love, and I want to just sing her praises. She obviously has like a Welsh, or is a Scottish accent in real life, but she has like an Americana sounding voice in this show. Not easy to do, to carry, to leave your original sounding. So she's essentially putting on an accent for us, right? Like if I was doing a European accent, um, I would put on an accent for that, and for a European, it would sound normal. But for us, she's putting on an accent, which is fantastic. It sounds great. Sorry, guys, my nose. Oh, sorry, my nose again. Um, I just gotta get into it. I gotta itch it. So she's killing it, man. Just finish this off. This is very tasty. It's expensive. It's tasty. Props to her. She she did really great last year in a couple of episodes that I thought were amazing. I mean, she did a great job the entire time. But she was like, this whole character was like this rebellious, like, doesn't take anything seriously. Then she turned into like this vicious survival killer. And then now they have her with this attitude. And then this episode, she really didn't lose the attitude, but we'll go from there. Stand by, guys. I have to take a break to grab something real quick. All right. Sorry about that. Grab my notes. Okay. So let's do it. Let's get into last week's recap. Thanks for putting up with me, guys. Wrong recap one. Let's see here. I have a recap. Okay, let's get into it. So, 5 stars again. 5 stars. And let's just go. So here's the recap of episode 3. And one of my questions again was, Bella going to be able to carry the show? Sorry about that, guys. I'm having some problems with my visuals here. Was Bella, because I have other shows that I have visuals that crop in. So my question was, is Bella going to be able to handle the load? Will the other actors step up and surprise us? A lot of them are not well known. Where are we going to go from there? So it opens up with a powerful montage showing you kind of what happened to Joel, cleverly editing it so it's not too vicious. Made me feel sad. I liked that. Then it cuts to, it just opens up black to like right on like a dead cordyceps dude outside of the gates of Jackson Hole. He's burnt to a crisp, pans out, gorgeous pan out, more burnt. They're all like embery, just burning like motherfuckers. They're just crispy critters. And you see, like, it's like if you're looking at Jackson Hole, right? The devastation, like if you're outside. Then they go inside and you see a woman. And she's they give you a close up of Joel's hand with the watch that's cracked, and which is essentially his time is up. Like that's kind of like it's over, right? Kind of like a changing of the times, right? She's washing his hand, which is weird. Maybe she's just washing the blood off him. Maybe he's covered up, so you're not seeing Pedro. They took his name off of so they're not paying him for that episode. If you didn't know this, if a person dies in an episode, and then again, I'm an actor, so here's how that works, and they show up in the next episode as a dead body, you can see their likeness, or if they show up in a photograph or on a computer screen, right? They have to pay that actor for the entire episode. Now, in some cases, they'll say, we're going to pay you for the whole season because the work you did is so amazing. Those are the deals they work out. But there's my belief is that was his last episode, him getting paid. So they had a sheet covering up, probably a mannequin. Don't think it was a person. They show you his hand there lying there, and it's very sad. It's a Joel hand. They show you the boots, like the cloth covers only so much. And then from there, Tommy comes in. God damn. Sorry. My nose. Wow. So Tommy comes in, and Tommy, Gabriel Luna, that was a great moment. It was a really great acting moment. When I'm watching certain actors and they're like, that's an incredible moment. Like, my thing's like, how would you feel right in that moment? And it's acting, grief acting is different from some people. There's something called the method. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the method is where you find a way to put yourself in that character's shoes, and you make yourself completely like feeling death somehow. Some people go to like, they'll like stew on it for days. They'll look at photographs of dead relatives. Some people will find a random funeral to crash if they have a big scene. This is a real thing that actors do. They get in that method. They try to really embody it and feel that. They'll sleep on it, wake up, imagine that this person really died in their life, like whoever they'll really connect to it. And then some actors like, whatever, hey, what's up? Doing their thing. Hey, what's going on? They're like action, and they're like, they feel it. They turn it on. Some people do something which is called, some actors do, they call it personalization, where you think about a person, like, for example, I have a brother, you might have a brother. You put yourself in a situation going, what if my real brother died in that tragically? How would I feel? And then they work on that for hours or days or minutes, whatever it takes. And they're ready. They might listen to some sad music, personalize it. Maybe Aunt Bertha died and this was her favorite song. She died 3 months ago. You listen to Aunt Bertha's song. You look at photos of someone who passed away. Kind of close to method, but that's how that works. So I'm keeping that in mind when I'm watching everyone do their grief. This scene is really dark, and it's like got this red kind of an overtone, I guess the best way to put it. So you're feeling like heat and like death and darkness. You're feeling it, and they could have put a filter over it, like that happens in the editing. So you're feeling that as you're going through, and like, you're feeling that kind of emotion with Tommy. Tommy walks in, and you're like, okay, is he gonna cry? What's he gonna do? He seemed kind of chill, right? Then you see a little bit of tear. In a lot of acting situations, you don't just outright cry. You want people to feel that you're crying, even though you're not. You want them to feel the cry. In acting, they talk about, if you're feeling the emotion, that's not acting. You should be acting so others can feel the emotion. So there's different schools of thought on that. But yeah, I thought he handled that really well. And then, you cut to you cut to I guess it's like the intro scene, and his name's off, or Pedro Pascal's name's off. And then you go to months later, time jump. Months later, they're building stuff. They're rebuilding their wall. It's not snowing anymore. I thought they were going to have I watched the behind the scenes, and the creators like, this season it's a blizzard this season. They were making it seem like now maybe they're going to bring the snow back, but this was a non-snow episode, by the way. No zombies, no snow. It was just weird. It took me back a little bit. Sunshiny. Ellie's in the hospital. Now, in the Joel morning scene, they did flip to Ellie having a tube in her. I didn't know she was that hurt. They kicked her in the ribs a few times, but the directors are saying that she was injured, critically injured. I didn't get that from. They kicked her a few times. Now, a broken rib, maybe you can imagine the rib maybe did some internal bleeding. Let's look at it that way. But she was out for 3 months or in the hospital, which is like, that's like major trauma. So that wasn't consistent. Later on, you find out Dina was visiting her. They were talking as she was getting better. Now, speaking of hospitals, let me just go back a little bit. Um, they they were I was assuming they didn't have a hospital because they hadn't indicated that at all. Now, or a hospital that can help you with some serious injuries. Apparently, they do. So somehow they have a hospital in there now, and they were showing all this like mash unit kind of stuff going on. And Ellie was like freaking out because she was having trauma from the Joel murder. They were showing you she was visualizing that. And that was before the time jump. So Ellie's getting checked out in the hospital, and then the therapy lady, Catherine O'Hara, comes in, tries to therapize her, and I'm like, well, here we go, therapy. Do we all got to go through therapy? But Ellie's just really repulsed by it. She's pretending to be okay with the therapy, and she moves on. Okay, so she leaves. Then she goes home. She hasn't been there in 3 months apparently. There's all sorts of flowers out in front of Joel's house. People missing Joel. Joel again was a rock star, which is interesting how they treat his death. So we've time jumped. Everybody's fine. Um, Now Bella goes in and walks around way too long. Walks around the house way too long. That's fine. Then she finds some of Joel's clothes. She finds his gun. She finds his watch. She grabs his gun. Okay, that's significant. Then she goes to his clothes and starts smelling them or something and crying into the clothes, which was a really great scene. Now, my initial thought was how, like I was saying earlier, how is how are they going to manage Bella Ramsey? And I was noticing throughout this episode, they're just going to go easy on the dialogue. They didn't have. I just that's what they're going to do for her. They're having her do a lot of emotional acting, a lot of like what's the word? I guess a lot of just um, a physical acting, right? Later on, she goes to the grave. There's no talking there. You would expect a character would have like a moment with the grave, and they're talking to it. Doesn't happen. So they're just going to go easy on her dialogue to keep the script simple. And the interactions she's having with her characters, it's real easy dialogue, banter, banter, banter. Um, but it's an action show, so I get that. She did have a scene where she's reading a letter. We'll get to that. I was a little surprised that it wasn't more of an emotional speech. I was expecting this boom, but later on they explained to you why they didn't give you that, which I thought was a cop out. I just think that they're looking at her limitations as an actress, and we all have them. We all do. And I think they're just trying to not burn her out. She's going to have to carry the show and all that. Let me grab something else. Let me take a momentary break real quick. Thanks for hanging in there. Okay. So so I feel like they're just going to go easy on her a little bit. She goes home. Dina comes in and she's like, "Hey, are you here?" And then Bella's like drying her eyes, goes downstairs or wherever. "Hey, what's up?" Dina brings her some cookies and says, "Hey, I know where these Firefly Juniors are at. I know where they're going, and I didn't tell you the truth because you kept quizzing me." So they gave you this really interesting dialogue moment where Dina comes in and says, "Hey, I'm connected to Joel too. I want to help you." I was really expecting that, and I like this scene by the way. And I should tell you. Let me tell you about the scenes I liked. I love the opening scene. Love that. I loved the scene with Joel on the table. I think we should have got more of that. They should have given us at least 5 to 10 minutes of people going through the Joel, morning, arguing about it, like breaking it down. Um, Dina, I was surprised that she was so chill about it. Like her character's like, okay, let's go get him. Versus like she was there, right? So I kind of would have loved to have her get emotional. And again, I'm just talking about the script. I would have loved for Dina to like really show Ellie how much she cared about Joel, and that would have been a really great bonding moment. The visuals were really great in that moment. The lighting was cool. I really loved it. The way they set up the camera, it was cool. I could tell that Bella, and is it Isabel, I think, is the name of the actress who plays Dina. I could tell their chemistry is rock solid, but the script is keeping that kind of like banter of like that tension. There's tension with their characters. We get into that later on. I guess it's sexual tension. So so Ellie, so she goes home. They devise this plan at the table over cookies. Let's go get the fireflies, and hey, let's get Tommy. He'll back us up. Okay. So they go to Tommy. Tommy's like farming and stuff with the pigs or whatever and the chickens. And Tommy's like, "Look, I think it's something that I understand your plan, but we're all politics now, so we have to run this to the council, and the entire city will have to believe in this because of all these reasons, right? We just can't. It's been 3 months, which makes no sense because if my brother was brutally murdered like that, I wouldn't sit around and go, well, maybe we should move on. So that's not quite consistent with like reality, but I was willing to give him a pass as I'm watching it. If some of these scenes move out of reality, I'm willing to give them a pass because they're trying to get to a point that makes sense. And I'm not always going to be critical of, okay, that's not realistic. But in some cases, I will because you have to keep that. There's a suspension of disbelief, but if you're grounding it in a real environment, right, you have to have rules. So, for example, if they're on a starship and Ellie comes up with a star blaster and says aliens killed Joel, Tommy's reaction can be something that's not normal. They're in an abnormal environment. They can make those rules up as they go along. When you're on a farm in Montana or Wyoming and it was a revenge killing and there's a city council and it's been 3 months late, there are rules. So you have to stay grounded in reality or you lose the person. But they didn't lose me. I was good with it. They had some nice wide shots giving you this sense of like distance and like this is a complicated thing. You'll notice in filmmaking, close shots, emotional shots, comedy, love, you're right here. When it's like, hey, we're really like, you're going to be right here when people are at odds with each other or they're explaining something. And then you're going to pan out to an entire room or like a whole section, right? If it's like complication, like this is a big problem, a bigger picture, right? So they did that. That was some good camera work. And then you get to okay, so then you get to this non sequitur, which is interesting. Now you get to these tribal dudes that they're walking around. Now no one's really giving no one's giving a damn about this guy or these guys because they're just like they're like why should we care about these tribal guys, right? That's very interesting. Why should we care about them? They're on this path. They're in Seattle. We find out. They're dressed in robes. They have like Robin Hood bow and arrows. They have these weird cuts or scars, which was cool. It was weird. That kind of stuff is cool, right? It got me engaged. Like, who are these people? There was a guy and his daughter. They look again, Robin Hood-ish, kind of like they're just like it's just like almost alien-like a little bit with the way they were dressed. They were all like the guys were bald, shaved heads. They were talking about a prophet. They were clearly religious. Some religious cult or something. And then they get like surprised by something and they're hiding. Okay, so we cut away. Then we cut to Ellie doing a boxing scene. She's training again inside her home or garage or something, maybe the garage. And then you've got Jesse. He's like her coach. She's holding the bag and she's punching, and which was a cool scene. It was realistic. I liked it. Okay. I'm not always critical of them training. That made more sense to me. she would be training in boxing and she's doing her thing. That was cool. So he tells her to chill out. You're too angry. I know you want to get revenge, but you got to think about the council. He's like the voice of reason. Then they cut to the council. It's a big city council thing. They have this vote and everybody gets up and talks a little bit. There's a few people that talk. Which is interesting is the guy they called him Dykes. I guess his name is, I forget his name, Stu or Stewie. I forget his name. The guy at the dance that called the girls Dykes, he actually stands up and defends Ellie going. So basically they all have to, they establish that they're going to vote on a posse. 16 people will go out and execute. They say this to execute Joel's killers, which there's no reason why you need to sit around and have a conversation about this, but their concern is we lost people and we don't want to leave ourselves defenseless. 16 is a lot of people. All of that's grounded in reality. Okay, I can work with that. They're like, hey, if we had more people, no problem, but we can't leave and be vulnerable. What if we're attacked again, especially if Tommy goes out? We just can't do, okay, cool. So they have a vote, and then Ellie gets up. They all have to give their piece. Ellie gets up, and she says something, very sweet and nice with the letter. Hey, let's do it for the people. It's not for me or Joel. This is for all of us. I want justice. Almost like she's in court, right? Which to me was weird. I thought, why wouldn't you go all out and give her like an emotional speech? But there was a point to it. So it stood out, which it meant to stand out. And apparently later on, we find out nobody believed this speech and they knew that she was going to try to go out on her own, but she was just trying to not be angry, take everybody's advice and not be too passionate. So some people get up and say, this is stupid. We need to move on. The guy that called him Dykes gets up and says, we need to get vengeance or they're going to come back. Everybody has a good point. They do a vote. Obviously, it doesn't go well for Ellie. In fact, she loses by a landslide. Tommy looks upset. And then Ellie's like, whatever. So you cut to a scene of her in her own little armory in the garage. It's, lights are low. It's dark. She got all these weapons and all these things. She's getting ready to rock. She's leaving. Dina surprises her, knocks on the door. Knock, knock. Hey, what are you up to? She eventually says, I'm going with you. Here's a map. You're going to need these supplies. You're going to need somebody that's like your manager, right? You're the talent. I'm your manager, essentially. They make this agreement. Let's go out. Ellie says, I don't want to, I just want to go. I don't want any complications. Dina says, I got a friend who's going to help us. Okay. She goes, trust me. Okay, cool. Meet us at 3 a.m. in on the side of the barn or something. And so Ellie goes out there, and this is a really cool scene. Ellie goes out there, and then the Dykes guy comes out. He's the secret helper, which is great. He's with Dina. They got a horse. He's got an extra gun and some supplies. It was really cool. I stood up and I was like, I like that. So Ellie still has an attitude with him, but he shakes her hand. He gives her a better gun. Even though she's being a douchebag, he's still supporting her. I love this. So the Dykes guy is on board with helping them. So he helps them sneak out. That should be interesting. Will be interesting to see how they treat this when we get back, when they discover that she's gone. She leaves Jackson Hole with Dina on back. They take one horse and they're doing their journey. All right. So we stop with the Jackson Hole right there. And then they head out. Now, before Ellie goes on her mission, which is very like kind of Clint Eastwood, like old Western, how they're treating it. She goes to the grave of Joel and puts coffee beans. I guess Joel would make coffee a lot. And I rewatched a lot of season 1. I was trying to connect the coffee thing. I mean, not tonight, but before. I wasn't sure what the coffee beans meant. And then she does a lot of physical acting, a lot of like acting without talking. So you're reading her mind. Powerful stuff. She does a great job. I would have liked a monologue there. It would have been like, hey, a closure. Joel, thank you for everything. Like that would have been cool to have a closure. But maybe their closure is coming later on because I don't think Ellie has closure, this character. I'm sensing she doesn't have any closure with Joel. And when she goes to the grave, that was cool. And she had this moment and she kind of had this like ironic, like she touches the ground. It was cool. I liked it. Just thought she should have had like some dialogue, but it was cool. it was kind of like the silent, like Clint Eastwood kind of thing. I'm okay with that. Again, like I said, they're going easy on Ellie's dialogue to keep the script very simple. Keep this in mind. They're shooting a lot of stuff. There's a lot to memorize, a lot of scripts. Some they're shooting stuff, and then boom, they get like maybe a day off, maybe, and they come back, they get a brand new script for the next. I mean, they have to really jam a lot of filming in for these shows. But they're going easy on her. So you cut to a road to Seattle. They're on their way to Seattle. Nice visuals. The late you take all the tension off right now, and the ladies are just talking. They're having fun. They're killing time by quizzing each other on different random things. You see them go through different like areas at different times. All beautiful stuff. This is they lay the map out before they leave, and it's a very long journey. But all of a sudden they get to Seattle like real fast. So and now you're assuming the Jackson Hole people have already put some kind of plan into place because obviously Ellie's important to them and missing and Dina. And you know that probably in the next episode, we're going to jump back in time and you'll see them discovering they're gone. But they've been gone for days because that on one horse and they're just like chilling. They weren't going that hard. They're probably, let's say 2 weeks or something, a long time. So cutting back to I guess they're called the Seraphim, like the religious cult guys that were scrambling because somebody was stalking them. They were on a road, like they show you the same road going to Seattle. It's like 20 miles out or something. There's like this stick there that has like Seattle and like Washington, like these, like a fork in the road on the path. So Ellie and Dina, they established that earlier in the show. Ellie and Dina come up on that same spot. They stop. Oh my God. They see like a cart overturned, a guy that's dead. Not a Corazon dude, but one of these Seraphim guys. Before we get there, I've missed something. Let me jump back. Okay, so here's one of the reasons why I gave it 3.5 stars is I thought they missed a really key moment. So the ladies stop and they put their tent up. It's raining. They're clearly not worried about anybody attacking them, which makes no sense. Okay. So you're losing me there. They're really relaxed. They're not sitting there like, watching for a cordyceps. I mean, they're in the middle of the woods. Anything can go on. They've already established that there's bad people out there chasing these Seraphim dudes. They've established that there's a cult out there, religious people. They're not alone, but they're acting like it, which takes me out of it. So you lose me. Okay. So you lose me on the rating. Then they're in the tent. And we have to have every episode, we have to have our social moment or our moment to remind the audience that Ellie is a lesbian and there's lesbian tension. Okay, I don't have a problem with it. And here's why the moment didn't work for me. Dina starts, they turn the light out and they try to make a comedy. Dina starts putting the moves on Ellie, starts talking about kissing and all these things, and nothing happens. Like they just kind of have a talk about Jesse and then Dina says, you're gay, I'm straight, but clearly Dina's bi-curious. The whole thing is just like, okay, right? Why didn't they kiss in the tent? I'm just saying, like, if you already established that they're into each other, you've established there's tension. To me, it made no sense to not have them kiss and like make that connection in the tent. They're in the tent alone. They're talking about this. Maybe they're going somewhere with it, but to me, it was like it slowed the story way down. It slowed it down because I'm like, if you're gonna do that, have something crazy happen. Didn't happen. I thought somebody's gonna do something to the tent, or they're gonna hear something, right? If you're gonna do that kind of dialogue, take it to a point, or have them kiss, have them have a moment, have them have a connection, and have them realize, hey, we are kind of falling in love. That would have been cool too. So they miss me. So they lose me on that. I don't have a problem with the moment. I have a problem that they didn't completely take advantage of that and build that character relationship or shock me with like an action scene. Okay, so you lose me there. Again, I give it 3.5 stars because they passed over Joel's death way too easily. The bi-curious scene really killed the flow. I explained why. There was no zombies and all that. So, okay, so now let's go back to the road. So let me jump back. Sorry about that. So they find these Seraphim dudes, like one of the guys dead on the road. Dina starts investigating. She runs out. She gets sick. Um, she's freaking out. Ellie's like, what happened? Ellie goes into the bushes. You see all the people that they introduced you to earlier on, dead as fuck, shot or something. Yeah, it looks like they were shot, just massacred. They key you into some of the people who were talking on that road. One of them was a little girl. They clearly show you she's dead. Tragic, right? Bad stuff. Um, so they're kind of like druid people, but they're totally murdered. Ellie's like, what is going on here? What the hell? And they're concerned. So they're like kind of more on edge. They go. So then they continue down. You see the Walking Dead ripoff. They get into Seattle. You see Seattle kind of. It's a really cool visual. It's very overgrown. It's like been 20 years, 25 years. Seattle's a mess, right? They cut to a scene up high. One of the Firefly Juniors is there. Okay, so they let you know they've made it to the right place. These guys, the bad guys, are here. He's on the walkie talking to somebody, and then they reveal that there's an army that the Junior Fireflies have put together. This army is now called, I guess they're called the Wolves. They're calling them Wolves, WLVs or whatever, WLFs, the Wolves. They have a wolf logo. So they're now upgrading them from Firefly Juniors to the Wolves. So we now have to call them the Wolves, and that's interesting. So you see this army marching down. It's like it's a war zone looking. Seattle's overgrown. There's all this destruction. You see this, and then you don't know where Ellie's at. She's still on the road. So they cut you. You don't see her anymore. And Dina, they're on the horse on the road somewhere going into Seattle. And then the last scene they show you is the Firefly Junior guys that are now, they've pulled an army together, and you see this army marching, and there's like 50 people or something in a tank. A little more formidable than you thought that they would be dealing with when they got there, Ellie and Dina. So there you go. There you go. Show ends, and they give you a little Walking Dead ripoff, and there you go. So my final thoughts. Thanks for watching. This one was a very bad produced show, so I apologize. A lot of mistakes, making mistakes on my graphics. And my sound was screwed up. My nose, this was a wild episode. My nose feel much better, but there's something going on. It was just itching me the whole time. So my final thoughts. Really dug the visuals. I thought it was a solid episode. The only reason I didn't give it 4 stars, well, is because no zombies, no action. I can't give you 4 stars with no action. And the bi-curious scene, I really thought they missed the mark on it. I thought that would have been really interesting to have that love connection like turn into a thing, or have them have one of these dead or these dying like seraphim guys hit the tent. That would have been cool, right? It just that, again, they do things that take me out of reality, so you lose me there. Other than that, I'm feeling positive. I wasn't that I was concerned that Ken, Bella Ramsey keep the show going. I feel okay at this point. We'll see how it goes. Are the actors around her strong enough? Maybe. It seems like, again, we might be going kind of a Hunger Games thing with like a lot of young people clashing. We'll see. But I can't really predict what's happening, which is nice. I couldn't predict a lot of this episode, which was helpful. I'm not sure what we're going to get next time. I do need to see some action. I do. That'll be important. And I'd like to get an episode that's like I'd like to see a 4-star episode. I would. I don't want to see an episode that brings us back, because we're all investing a lot in the show. So there you go. Again, my name is Jason J. Daniel. Thanks for watching. This has been a lot of fun. Follow me on here we go. Boom. Let's see here. Follow me on X, IG, Snap, Rumble, Facebook. If you're watching this on one of those platforms, please follow or subscribe. Thank you so much. Give me your comments, and I will read them. And I appreciate all of your comments, unless they're nasty. And and I really appreciate you being a part of this really fun experiment, which is me pretty much just talking about TV and movies and giving you my opinion. And I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night. Take care.